Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the Home Weather Office on this Thursday morning. It is the 14th day of September 2023. This is the morning briefing coming to you from my Home Weather Office, where I do my own morning briefing to myself. Then I show you what we're thinking for today before I put on my suit and tie and go into the office. It is a good-looking morning from the Home Weather Office. It's going to be another nice day throughout Northern California with temperatures in a similar range to what we've been seeing the last few days for the valley, low to mid 90s, upper 80s in the foothills, some of the warmer spots around 90, 70s in the high Sierra. Good air quality. Yeah, we're just looking really good. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the hurricane, of course. I'll get to that in a minute. But also want to look at next week, because next week right now is looking very changeable. And I'll explain why might be a little tricky over the next few days to nail down what's going to happen next week. All right, let's start with what is happening this morning. And as you can see, another terrific looking day. We do have the marine layer here along the coast. It's into Napa, it's into Sonoma, it's into San Jose, and Monterey and the Salinas Valley. Clear in the Sierra, a couple of clouds in the southern Sierra. And the other thing that happened yesterday was I've been talking about the smoke coming from the fires up north, getting down into Redding. Well, yesterday we had more of an offshore flow, and we still have it today. You can see the smoke being carried through Del Norte County and then out to sea. And then it gradually gets entrained into the marine layer. We may see that from time to time get into our onshore flow, but I don't think it's going to be something that's really going to impact the valley all that much. We are still looking at the possibility of some north winds next week, and we'll see what that does. But in the meantime, that's just something to keep an eye on. What's going on up here. These fires are going to continue to burn for a while. They're kind of managed burns, if you will, at this point, but they're working on them. But they continue to put out smoke, and thankfully, here we are in the busy part of our fire season. That is really the only main area of fire that we're looking at anywhere in the state, which is nice. All right, let's get to some of the model stuff. So I'll explain what's happening here, and this is the 6Z run, and I want to explain a little bit about the uncertainty that we're looking at for next week. Here we go. All right, so we have this little trough that went by yesterday. Now we have ridging, which means light winds in our area, warm temperatures. And then as we get into the weekend, this is Saturday morning right here, we have this next little trough coming in, which will help to increase southerly flow and bring temperatures down. So while today and Friday will be in the mid-90s, Saturday probably more like upper 80s to around 90, depending on the timing of when the onshore flow kicks in. And that southerly flow will also help to keep the air quality in pretty good shape. And then that low just kind of spins around over the course of the weekend. Now, the uncertainty for next week isn't so much this low here, but it's these passing troughs that will be coming from the north. And the problem here is that the models are all over the place. This is valid on Tuesday night. This trough, a couple of days ago, had been forecast to be a very deep trough over California. And instead, now the latest model takes it off toward Idaho and barely has an impact on our area at all, except for the fact that we may get some north wind. But even this north wind possibility looks like it's even less than what the model was suggesting yesterday. And so then this is into the day on Thursday. That trough safely off to the east. We still have the low spinning around here, and the interaction between the two puts California right in between. But the problem is at this time of year, now that we're into September, mid-September, we're in the transition season. We are about to transition into the fall season. We're getting there. And the jet stream becomes a little bit more active. And what I've noticed over the last number of years is that in the transition seasons into fall and spring, that the models do have a difficult time sometimes. And so what I want to bring your attention to is that there are all sorts of possibilities for next week in terms of how cool it's going to be. I think temperatures might stay in the mid-80s. How much north wind we may see, and of course that's a concern for fire danger, and whether or not we're going to see any mountain showers as well. So, like I said, there's a lot of uncertainty next week, and if you're trying to make plans for next week, just keep in mind that we are in the time of year when we do get a little bit more model uncertainty than we do when we're solidly into our cold weather season or when we're solidly into our warm weather season. the transition seasons can be a little difficult on the models. All right, so that being said, let's go on to the hurricane. All right, this is the latest from the National Hurricane Center, and the winds are now down to 90 miles an hour, so the storm is decreasing. We are now under major hurricane status. The storm is now accelerating. It's moving north at 14 miles an hour, as you can see here. A couple of days ago, it was moving at 7 miles an hour, and its forward speed will increase. The latest from the Hurricane Center has it going into Nova Scotia as a post-tropical storm. Right here, and then accelerating off to the northeast, past Newfoundland. There are these areas highlighted in yellow along the Maine coast. Those are tropical storm watches rather. The areas in pink in eastern Maine and into Nova Scotia are hurricane watches. And that now that we do have a tropical storm warning, this area highlighted in blue for Cape Cod. All right, so let's take a look at what one of the models is suggesting with this. I'm going to show you the NAM, and we'll pick this up on Friday night. At this time, there will likely be tropical storm force winds along Cape Cod. It'll be pretty nasty out toward Nantucket and Chatham. Now, the NAM is a little bit farther to the west than the NHC model, but this gives you an idea of timing at least. This is Saturday morning, actually closer to Saturday midday on the East Coast. So the rain bands would extend from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and through Portland, Maine, and especially up toward Bangor. But you see where the eye is here, and this would be about the worst of it along the coast. From here, with colder water in the Gulf of Maine, you'll see a rapid decreasing of the storm, like you see right here. This is Saturday afternoon. And then we also start to get a more of a right-hand turn. So as we go through here, right here, it begins a right-hand turn. And this is Saturday around sunset on the East Coast. And this takes the center of the storm just east of Bar Harbor and then into the Bay of Fundy, taking a hard right going up through the Bay of Fundy, just near St. John, New Brunswick. And then this is Sunday. Sunday, the weather gets back to, it's a nice day. Sunday will be a beautiful day in New England. So that's looks like what's going to happen. Saturday does look like it's going to be a rough day in Maine. But like I said, this model is also a little bit farther west than the NHC models. So this model may be showing too much for the state of Maine. So what it might be showing you here is probably a worst case scenario for the state of Maine during the day on Saturday. Either way, for those of you in New England and Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, if you're watching, pay attention to your local forecasts, your local National Weather Service offices, and reliable sources for information on this, especially for marine interests along the coast of Maine, because there can be a lot of changes from one port to another because of the way the coast of Maine is configured. We could have a lot of different results from one port to another throughout the coast of Maine and even onto Cape Cod for that matter. So that's everything I've got for you this morning. Let's see, it's Thursday. There will be a Facebook Live chat tonight. There wasn't on Tuesday because of technical reasons. There will be one tonight. We'll talk about the storm. We'll talk about our weather. And of course, I'll be in the office and on TV at 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, and 11. Make it a great day. I'll talk with you later.